Okay, so I tried filming this intro to this video so many times and it felt really unnatural and really not me. So here I am on my floor. Hi, my name is Samantha Alexine and this is my first video in my Lineages of the Empire series. I hope you enjoy it. Today I'm going to be showing you how I did my Briar Twilight Masquerade look. If you're not a person who attends Empire, half those words probably didn't make any sense at all, which is why I'm going to spend the first little bit of this video explaining a little bit about Empire LARP and about magical lineages and Briars, what they are. But if you're already familiar with all of that, which, let's be real, if you're one of the like 5 people watching this, you're probably one of my friends and already know all about Empire. If that's the case, I'll put a time code. I don't know how that works yet, but I'll figure it out and you are welcome to skip ahead to the part where I actually get into the makeup. Anyway, for those of you who may not be familiar with this particular world of fantasy and war and magic, Empire is a UK-based fantasy LARP system. LARP as in live action roleplay. If you play a human at Empire, you can choose to play a human who is lineaged or non-lineaged. Now, a lineaged human is a person whose blood has been touched by one of the 6 magical realms, which are spring, summer, autumn, winter, day and night. I play a character who is a child of summer, so my character Guinevere is what we would call a changeling. So you see, at Empire there is a magical night ritual called Twilight Masquerade, which allows you to disguise yourself as a different magical lineage. Now, my character Guinevere at the autumn equinox was given a challenge by the shaman of Wintermark, who, by the way, is a wonderful character who seems to give so much game to so many people, and I just have a lot of respect for that. But anyway, the challenge was for her to change herself 7 times, essentially a journey of self-discovery for her to know herself better. And since summer is such a big part of who she is, she decided to accept the challenge and to dedicate the next year and a bit to Twilight masquerading as every lineage other than her own. So she started this year at the winter solstice with Naga, which felt like an appropriate place to start because Nagas are of the realm of night and it is a night ritual. And then this year at the spring equinox, the most recent event, she became a Briar. So yes, I'm doing these videos out of order. But you know, ain't that just the way?
Ain't that just the way?
So basically, with this journey of self-discovery that Guinevere is on, I get to, out of character, experiment with different makeup looks for every single lineage, and I thought, why not just make a video series out of it so you can come along for the ride. But anyway, makeup. I'm gonna do that. And while I do, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Briars and share some fun facts, and maybe also go a little bit into what my experience was like of playing a Briar for a weekend. So, here I am, no makeup, ready to become a Briar. Now, to start with, I'm basically just going to do a normal face of makeup. Essentially, the Briar trappings that I add in later could be adapted, you know, and could be added to any makeup look that you personally like. I would put on a primer if I had any, but I don't, so we're going to go straight in with the foundation. I'm actually using a sample that I got from Estee Lauder. It's their double wear foundation and it's really, really good. But I can't remember what shade it is because this little bottle doesn't show me, so. Next, I'm going to put on a little bit of corrector under my eyes to hide my very, very dark circles. Briars are the realm of spring, which is a place of uncontrollable life and primal energy. So, I'm going to use makeup to hide my sleep deprivation. Now that I've corrected the dark bits, I'm going to use some brightening concealer for that extra bit of brightness and exuberance that is becoming of Briar's. I'm using Bobbi Brown's Instant Full Coverage Concealer in the shade Beige. Right, time to set the face with some translucent powder. The one I'm using is from Mercier, and it does a really good job of keeping the makeup matte and in place all day, which at a LARP event is a godsend. Okay, so now I'm gonna do my brows. I was kind of nervous about doing them on camera because brows are just so difficult. Now, my favorite bit is always the eyes. That's where I tend to want to draw the most attention with my makeup. First, I'm gonna use this Longwear shadow stick over the lid to create a base for my eyeshadow, so it'll last a bit longer. Then for the eyeshadow itself, I'm gonna be using a couple of different palettes, but really you can probably achieve the same look with any similar shades. I'm gonna take a medium brown and blend that into the crease for some dimension. I have very hooded eyelids, so I tend to blend up quite far so that it doesn't like disappear when I open my eyes. Then I'm going to use a slightly richer brown from this Anastasia Beverly Hills palette to darken the outer bit of the crease. And then with these two same shades, I'm gonna go under my lash line to balance the look out a little bit more. Then I'm taking a bronze shadow from the same palette with my finger and pressing it into the outer bit of my eyelids. I'm going to take the shade Glistening to the middle and almost inner corner of my eye, and to highlight the very inner corner, I'm using the shade Fairy, which is just a tiny bit brighter. So I'm gonna dip my brush into this sparkly loose pigment. It's in the shade Bronze, or Reflects Bronze by MAC. And I'm gonna press that all over my lid and then very lightly bring some of it out into a sort of, out and up into a sort of wing shape. And I'm also going to add some bronze sparkles under the lash line because when it comes to glitter, I don't know when to stop. Anyway, I will be using a very dark brown gel liner to line my eyes. I chose a brown eyeliner instead of a black one because I wanted to like keep with the earthy color scheme and not go too glam. More like natural yet magical kind of beauty is what I was gunning for. Next, some mascara and lashes. The mascara is Better Than Sex by Too Faced, and the lashes are from an Ardell Demi Wispies multi-pack, and I've cut about a third off of both of them. Like I mentioned before, my eyelids are very, very hooded, so my eyelids will kind of disappear behind lashes if I'm not careful. So I tend to cut them smaller and only sit them on the outer corner, and that just suits my eye shape a lot better. Then to bronze my face up a little, I'm going to use this darker shade from the Suede Sunswept Bronzer Duo. It's new and I'm still kind of like figuring out how to use it. I'm specifically going to skip blush for this look because I kind of want to stay away from like pink and peachy tones and stay more with the like browns and stuff. So instead, I'm going to take this golden bronze shade from the Bobbi Brown highlighter trio, which normally would be like a bit too dark as a highlighter for my skin tone, but I'm going to highlight my cheekbones with it, extending it a little bit further down to where I would normally place blush. And then I'm also gonna put a little bit on the high points of my face. For the lips, I honestly don't really have a shade that I love with this look. If If you have a brown lipstick, I would recommend that, but instead I'm just gonna take this brownish pink liquid lip from Bobbi Brown and kind of like pat just a tiny bit of it on the inside of my lips and then pat it out for just a tiny little bit of color. Okay, that's my Guinevere bit of makeup done. Now is the part where we get into the actual Briar trappings. So the most iconic trappings for Briars are patches of bark in place of skin. Like one of their signature things is that when they're wounded or when their skin breaks, it heals over with like a bark-like material. So some Briars grew up thinking that they're non-lineaged and only discover that they are Briars when they're wounded and it heals over with bark. Other trappings include very bright, like exotically green eyes, distinct dark veins spreading out from under their skin, and thorns as well. I'm also going to take these 2 green shades from my Morphe palette and subtly, well, maybe not that subtly, contour the outside of my face to give it this slightly like fey, otherworldly look. Lineage blood will usually influence the personality of the character who possesses it. So there are a number of role-playing effects that you can choose to play on as much or as little as you like, depending on how strongly lineaged you would like to be. So Briars can be straightforward, primal, very physical. They can also, well, tend to be very like vital and energetic. Now when at the event where I played a Briar, I was super sleepy out of character, so I didn't do that great of a job at the like abundance of energy bit. Since I wear lots of over-the-shoulder dresses, I'm going to bring the contour down over my neck, collarbone, and shoulders as well. Another thing that is notable about Briars is that they face a lot of prejudice in the Empire. There are a number of nations that are specifically distrustful of Briars. I think there was a heretical uprising in history at some point that was led by a Briar-dominated group, which is why Dawn don't like them very much. They're also closely connected to the Spring Realm, which is why the Navarre don't like them very much, because Valorn. And the Marchers think that they're accursed, so there you go. Next is the bark. I'm using prosthetics that I purchased from Mandala Studios. It came in 2 different colors, this green bronzy one and this green silvery one. I decided to use all the pieces in this silver green variety, and now I'm gonna paint them in Prosade and then stick them onto me. At this event, Guinevere ran into one of her Marcher friends who, as you might remember me saying, they don't like Briars at all. And they had this lovely conversation for all of 15 seconds until Gwen mentioned that she was Twilight masquerading as a Briar this weekend, and this poor Marcher girl just like backed away slowly, and her whole group, who were all Marchers, just all but ran away from me. So that was fun. Gosh. So for my Twilight Masquerade, I decided to position the bark in places that if I wanted to, I could easily hide. This one goes here where my hair or like a cloak can conceal it, and I intentionally did it this way in case I didn't have the emotional energy to face Briar discrimination, which at times was great roleplay and at other times I thought might be a bit much for me, which, yeah, basically playing a Briar allows people to play against themes of prejudice and discrimination, which is really valid as a game experience, and I imagine that in ways it could be really cathartic. But as a LGBTQ woman of color, I think that I would struggle with interacting or with playing a character who would interact with those themes like all the time. You know, that being said, I am like a straight passing, white passing person, so I have immense privilege that has meant that I've not really in my real life experienced discrimination as much as like just erasure. But even then, I think it might still feel a bit too real for me to play a character like a Briar in the long term who faces that kind of discrimination from so many nations so much at the time. Now that I've stuck on the pieces of bark, I'm going to paint some veins coming out from under the bark pieces. Since I'm usually doing this early in the morning and need to do this every day, I'm not going to make it look as beautiful and realistic as I might for like a photo shoot or something. Since it's a LARP, I'm gonna try and keep it uncomplicated. I'm gonna use the same gel eyeliner that I used for my eyes and start drawing branched, veined lines across my collarbones. To summarize, I really enjoyed my experience of being a Briar. It was challenging in some ways, but I'm glad I did it. And it's one step closer to Gwen understanding her true self a little bit better, and I'm always here for character development, so with that, the look is pretty much complete. I'm not wearing the dress, the right dress that I would for Gwen, but here are all the makings of my Briar trappings. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings, and have courage and be kind. I'll see you next time.